Hello folks, we're looking at another car finance comparison for you. Firstly, if you want to find out the differences between different types of car finance and which ones may be suitable for you, jump onto my website notaguru.co.uk and you will find some useful guides for you. So you've got the basics of car finance there, you've got basics of car leasing there, so all that kind of stuff should be quite useful. In this one we're looking at a Peugeot 408 GT. It's on a fantastic lease deal at the moment. I'm often a bit apologetic when I'm doing these things, trying to find you a lease deal that's just bang average. In this one I'm not. I'm finding you a good deal, and we're going to be completely objective through this, comparing the different types of finance. So firstly, we're starting off at Peugeot themselves, and this is their PCP on this particular car. It's the 408 GT 1.2 PureTech 130 E88. So as you can see here, it's 36 monthly payments, deposit of 2,950. They're going to give you a deposit contribution of £2,000 because they're kind-hearted souls, giving you a total deposit of 4,950, only 2,900 of which you've paid for. The on-the-road price for that car is £35,560. That gives you a total amount of credit of 30 grand. An optional final payment if you want to buy it at the end of the 3-year PCP of 16,437 quid. That means they're charging you 4.5 grand for your credit. And this is a 37-month deal, okay? Now let's look at the lease. This is a 36-month. So you're paying your deposit and then a monthly figure. So the deposit on this one's 2,937, so 12 quid less than on the PCP. And then £244.84 a month. This is on 10,000 miles a year. They're all on 10,000 miles a year. Now, of course, if we're doing a direct comparison, we're not going to pay 35 grand for this car. We're probably not going to finance with Peugeot. So let's have a look. We can find one here from a Peugeot dealership, brand new, the exact car for 27.5 grand. Now, it may well be when you contact the dealership, they say that's if you use Peugeot's finance or their own finance. Don't forget, you've generally got 14 days to get out of that. And refinance, pay cash, whatever you want to do. But we're going to use this as the basis of one of the PCP deals we're looking at in here. I'm just using a PCP calculator on Carwell for that. I've put all the figures in there. 6.75 seems like a really good rate on PCP at the moment. I think it's not the easiest rate to get, 6.75 at the moment, actually. That gives us a figure of 342 a month with that cash price for the 27.5 grand car we just looked at, and the 2,950 up front. That gives you a final payment of 16,437, which is the same final payment we've getting from Peugeot. Then we need to look at how much the car is going to be worth in 3 years. That's really difficult because this is quite a new car. So here's a 12-month-old one with 12,000 on the clock. That's going for 21 grand. If we put that number plate into We Buy Any Car, they're giving us 19,000 for it. So I'm going to be really generous and say that once this car's 2 years older, bearing in mind it should be 35 new, although it's 27.5, I'm going to say that this car's going to be worth 15 grand when it's 3 years old. And I'm being very kind. And when I say worth, I mean that's how much you're going to get for it as either a Part X or if you were to sell it to a car buying service, for example. So I've plumbed all this into my magic spreadsheet. And I have to say, folks, I'm doing this and I do all these videos like this just to get you to look at the numbers for yourself on the particular car, the particular deal you're looking at, and not to just go into a car dealership and take what's offered to you. People book calls with me on my site and I'll say to them, right, what are you doing? And they'll say, well, I know you like leasing, but I don't do finance. So I'm very proud to pay for all my cars outright, blah, blah, blah. And then you look at this kind of exercise and sometimes people see that they could have saved a few quid doing it differently. And that's not to say leasing's always the answer either, because sometimes it doesn't work at all. That's why I say shop for the deal and not for the car. Always go for the best deal you can find. Let's look at the cash. 27.5 grand's gone straight away. So 27.5 grand has left your bank account. There's an opportunity cost there because that's 27.5 grand that you can't earn interest on. Now, it's really difficult to judge how much interest you can get because there are loads of different savings accounts. Some of them have risk attached, some don't. So to make things really, really simple, I've looked at premium bonds. The current average price rate on premium bonds is 4.4%. You don't pay any tax on premium bond earnings, so you don't have to worry about that. And I've plugged it into this opportunity cost calculator. So you can see if you put that amount of money in on 4.4% over 3 years, it turns into 29 grand. But if you adjust it up at 2% annual inflation, it's actually 31,355. So you're getting somewhere between, say, 1,1600 quid and 3,800 quid in interest on that money if you kept it in the bank. Now, of course, there's still opportunity cost with loans, with PCP, with a car lease, but it's not as much as it is with cash. And that's because with cash, you're getting rid of 100% of that pot of money on day one, where with the others, you're getting rid of it gradually over a period of time. So a loan is next, 2,950 up front, 765 quid a month, 570 quid road tax because you're going to have to pay that, or vehicle excise duty. We think the car's going to be worth 15 grand at the end of it. PCP, the manufacturer's one, as you can see, is not going to be a winner really because we're starting off at a really high price for the car. You'll often see manufacturers advertising really low APR finance, but the price of the car is way more than it would be if you were effectively a cash buyer. So 2,950 up front, 521 a month, 570 quid tax. PCP other. So I've used the Carwow calculator for this, and I've given a very generous APR of 6.75. And the important thing to note is both those PCPs is 36 monthly payments, where the loan and the lease are 35 monthly payments. With a PCP, generally you pay a deposit and then 36 payments on a 36-month deal. With a PCH or a lease, generally what we call a deposit is actually your first payment. So it's a 36-month agreement, and the deposit is actually just your first payment. So the 2,938 is payment number one, then all the others are 244. So let's have a look at the cost of those over 3 years. And I'm not factoring in the opportunity cost into any of this. That's something for you to do yourself. I could calculate it for every one of those, but it would take me a long time, and I'm just not going to do it. But you need to factor it in. Obviously, the more money that's going out at the start and on a monthly basis, the higher the opportunity cost. So the one here with the lowest opportunity cost is the lease, because you're giving away the lowest amount of money, and every month the lowest amount of money is coming out of your bank, and you don't have tax to contend with. Okay, so bear that in mind. So the lease obviously wins this one. It's costing you 11.5 grand to have that car for 3 years. The PCP, if you do the manufacturer one, 22 grand. If you do it elsewhere, 15,832. The loan, you're looking at 15,300, and paying cash for it, you're looking at 13, plus potentially quite a bit more on top. So the opportunity cost is something you really need to think about, especially if you are that traditional, I buy a new car with cash and I get rid of it after 2 years, after 3 years. You may be doing yourself a little bit of a disservice. All this is obviously dependent on the deal. This is a deal that's a fantastic lease right now. It really is a good deal. At other times of the year, we could have done this same calculation on this same car, and the lease might have been twice as expensive. Who knows? What I'm telling you to do here is run the numbers. It's vitally important that you do that if you want to make sure you're getting the best value for money you can. And that's really all there is to it, folks. You take the deposit, the tax, how much you're paying every month, what the car's going to be worth at the end of 3 years. And this is the only bit we need to really concern ourselves with. Well, once we've factored in the opportunity cost properly, if we choose to do that. Because that's what it all comes down to. When people say, why are you throwing away money on a lease? Well, because I wanted to spend 1,500 quid less than I would if I paid cash for it, and maybe earned 1,500 quid more in interest while that cash was sitting in the bank. No? Am I daft? Obviously, if you're going to buy a car and keep it for 100 years, the story might be different. But a car like this, let's have a look. This costing 11,478. If you look at the list price of it, it's 35. So you could get 9 years of brand new lease cars at that kind of deal, versus this one, which after 9 years, it might have cost you thousands in maintenance, in repairs. It could have cost you thousands in tax by then. We never know what's going to happen with tax. So I'm not saying that one way's right and one way's wrong. What I'm saying is do the maths yourself. Look at something like this and just open up your mind, broaden your horizons, folks. There is genuine value when you choose to look for it. And sometimes when you don't, you're going to get yourself a little bit of a shafting. If you're thinking about getting any kind of new, nearly new car, I strongly suggest looking at gap insurance, whether you're paying cash for it, getting finance, or indeed leasing it. And obviously, I always use ALA for that, ala.co.uk. Use the code JIM10. You can get 10% off gap insurance. You can get 10% off a car warranty. The great thing about a car warranty from ALA is it's insured rather than discretionary. Most out there are actually discretionary warranties, and that doesn't mean a great deal. I've done a video all about it, which I'll link at the end of this one, but an insured warranty means you've got some recourse if the warranty company doesn't play ball. ALA are a fantastic supporter of the channel. Use the code JIM10, you'll get 10% off. I hope you've enjoyed that, folks, and I hope it gives some of you some inspiration and perhaps some confidence to dig into the sums a bit more yourself and really consider all options that are available to you rather than just walking into a car dealership and signing up for what they offer you, because sometimes the savings are extremely significant. I mean, go back to this for a sec. If you were just doing PCP and you went in the car dealership or chose to do it elsewhere, you know, you're saving yourself thousands of pounds, like a ridiculous amount of money, really, just by doing a tiny bit of homework. So, yeah, I hope everyone takes something from this and takes hopefully some action from it before you buy your next car. Please subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content, and if you like to know all the best deals on new car prices, on new leases, all that kind of stuff, also some used car buying advice, please subscribe to the channel, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and I'll see you on the next one.